We are going to close with an introduction to a new, well, not a new company, but certainly new to Trinidad and Tobago, Manuchar, establishing itself. How long ago, as I introduced Nicholas Jennings to you, who leads Manuchar here in Trinidad and Tobago. Nicholas, give us a little synopsis. You're a chemical company providing raw inputs into all kinds of manufacturing around the world. Why Trinidad, and how has your entry into the market been so far?
Thanks so much, Francesca.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be interviewed. Pleasure to be acknowledged and recognized.
It's you have a booth upstairs, a table. You're venturing into the the oil and gas sector, and of course you are a huge company. Tell us more.
Sure. So Manuchar had humble beginnings in Trinidad, but it's a Belgian-based company. The company Manuchar NV, they are active in over 40 countries worldwide, in over 140 locations in those countries. So one of those countries, our beautiful Trinidad and Tobago.
So in terms of the chemical inputs that you're bringing in, give us a sense of the range, and then we'll also touch on what has been a real question for industry in general, and especially the energy sector. In conversation with people who are here, it was expressed to me that in fact, there is quite short supply globally of chemicals, and where chemicals are available, the price has risen exponentially. Talk to us about what you're facing as a supplier of chemical inputs.
Excellent point. So Manuchar, during the pandemic, we have seen supply chains been heavily disrupted. And we having material in Trinidad on the ground available for our customers, it placed them in a much better position to mitigate these supply chain disruptions. So whereas a lot of companies who would have tried to get their material into Trinidad could not have gotten it, we were a truck drive away. So we have a 40,000 square feet warehouse that we import our raw materials, we stock them, and we distribute them just in time. And these inputs into manufacturing goes to sectors such as food and beverage, personal care, home care, paper and plastics, pharmaceuticals.
And of course, all the rust removers and the degreasers and so on, which really do have an important input into the energy sector and maintenance of equipment and that kind of thing, in turnarounds and so on. Give us a little sense of what chemicals you have. And is it because you are such a global company that your stocks were able to bypass some of the supply issues?
Good point as well. So another key factor that we are able to leverage is economies of scale. Since we're a global company, we supply to various locations worldwide. The volumes are high. Our relationships with AAA manufacturers and shipping companies, it's very strong. So we are able to still source where others may have gotten a no, we would have gotten a yes because it's Manuchar. So we were able to still receive material, but in addition to that, we also had material on the ground in our large warehouse. So these chemicals, as you asked, are inputs into various industries. So some that you might be familiar with, citric acid, these go into the food and beverage for stabilization and for preserving some of the juices, and they could be used in many other industries as well. It's an acidulant, so not to get too technical, but it's used in many other industries, and there are many other products like that that we stock that are needed on a daily basis in industry, as well as oil and gas.
In terms of the Energy Chambers Conference, the theme very much the green transition. What impressions and what is your research telling you about your clients in Trinidad and worldwide and their concerns for compliance, or at least starting to shift their businesses to be in better alignment with these new goals?
So to be very plain and very honest, the pandemic has shifted focus to just pretty much being able to produce and being able to supply. So a lot of companies have not really, the traditional companies that we work with have not decided to take that plunge just yet, just within this period. But we know that when things stabilize, this will be the agenda. It will definitely be a focus
So
for
a
more
sense of
companies.
your clients really surviving the pandemic.
Surviving.
And now that maybe it's in the rear view somewhat, their immediate priority is production, distribution. Once that's stabilized, then they can bring other items onto the agenda.
Yes, and Manuchar is always there to help. We're always leading in innovation, and we're in touch with manufacturers, producers of raw materials that are greener options. And
What was your experience here at the Energy Chamber? Was it the first time you had an in-person booth? And
correct.
What was the response, and what would you say to other newcomers into Trinidad and Tobago's industrial sector about participating here?
So our experience was much better than we expected. We really wanted to go small to test the waters, being our first time, but the response has been overwhelming, and it exceeded expectations.
We look forward to seeing a bigger and
Definitely.
stronger presence next year.
Definitely, and we see the need for it. And going forward, we have other initiatives that we are thinking to deepen our connection with the chamber, and also to deepen our penetration into the industry, the oil and gas industry, definitely.
A real pleasure speaking with you, Nicholas Jennings from Manuchar, and good to hear that your experience here at the chamber for the first time in person has been as encouraging as it has.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And from here, we are going to take a short break, and remember, after lunch, the final panel where the full review with the moderator being the CEO and head of the Energy Chamber. We'll be right back with more.